All right, let's get into this. We're going to take a trip back to the 1980s. You know, big hair, synthesizers, and these clunky beige computers. But what if I told you that one of those beige boxes, a computer built specifically for British schools, has a direct family line to the supercomputer you're probably holding in your hand right now? Yeah, it is a wild story, and it all starts with a simple question.
I mean, really, think about that. How does that happen? How on earth does a machine designed to teach kids the basics of programming end up defining the entire future of mobile technology? Well, to figure that out, we have to go right back to the beginning.
So picture it, the early 80s in Britain. Computers are suddenly starting to become a thing, right? And honestly, there's a bit of a panic in the air. Is the country going to be a leader in this new digital world, or is it going to get left in the dust? It really felt like the entire nation was standing at a massive crossroads.
And this is where a hero you would never expect steps onto the scene, the BBC. Yep, the British Broadcasting Corporation. The national broadcaster looks around and decides, we have to do something about this, something big. So they launch this incredible national mission to get Britain up to speed with computers.
Now, this wasn't just about selling a few computers. No way. This was a massive, nationwide educational effort, the BBC Computer Literacy Project. The plan was brilliant. Create a TV show called The Computer Program, and then have a single, standardized, powerful computer that everyone could buy and learn on together. It was unbelievably ambitious for its time.
Okay, so the BBC needed a machine for their mission. They looked around, and after a pretty intense competition, they picked this small company out of Cambridge called Acorn Computers. And in what is now a legendary story, Acorn's engineers, people like Sophie Wilson and Steve Furber, basically pulled off a miracle and turned their prototype into the machine we now know as the BBC Micro, or as pretty much everyone called it, the Beeb.
And the Beeb wasn't just a single machine. It was this whole family that grew over the years. It kicked off in 1981 with a model that had either 16 or 32 kilobytes of RAM, which I know sounds insane now. By 1986, the top-of-the-line Master 128 had a whopping 128 KB. To put that in perspective, your phone has literally tens of thousands of times more memory than that. But back then, this thing was a beast.
So what made the Beeb so special? I mean, why this machine? It had some serious secret weapons. Its processor ran at a speedy 2 megahertz. It had this incredible port called the tube, which let you literally plug in a second, even more powerful brain. And it had EcoNet, so schools could actually network all their computers together, which was revolutionary. But the real killer feature was its programming language.
BBC Basic, designed by the brilliant Sophie Wilson, was an absolute masterpiece. It was so far beyond the simple, toy-like BASIC you'd find on other computers. As you can see here, it lets you do proper, structured programming. And you could even drop down into super-fast assembly language right in the middle of your code. This thing didn't just teach kids how to write Hello World. It taught a whole generation how to be serious, powerful programmers.
So, the Beeb was born from this national mission. It was built for education. But, you know, like with any truly great piece of tech, the second it got out into the world, it just took on a life of its own. It ended up completely conquering two totally different worlds.
First up, the classroom. And here, the project was just a staggering success. I mean, look at that number. By the mid-80s, the BBC Micro was in nearly 98% of all UK schools. It became the computer for an entire generation of kids. And this is the peak of that educational dream, the Doomsday Project. In 1986, they got 1 million school children to help create this insane digital snapshot of the entire country. Maps, photos, articles, everything, and stored it on these futuristic things called laserdiscs. It was basically Wikipedia and Google Street View smashed together, but decades before any of that was supposed to exist. But, like I said, the classroom was only half the story. Because while kids were running physics simulations at school, they were going home, and in their bedrooms, that exact same machine was being pushed to its absolute limits for pure fun.
The most legendary example, of course, is the game Elite. This wasn't just a game, it was a universe in a box. It used these cool 3D wireframe graphics to create this huge, open galaxy you could just explore. And the craziest part? The galaxy wasn't pre-designed. It was procedurally generated, meaning the computer was basically creating it on the fly using math. It was pure coding magic on a machine with just 32K of RAM. And the programmers just kept getting better and better. A game like Exile came out pretty late in the Beeb's life,
And it was a technical marvel. It had a complete physics engine. It simulated gravity, inertia, shock waves, all this complex stuff. The amount of power these coders could squeeze out of this hardware was it's mind-boggling. So, the Beeb educated a nation, and it sparked a gaming revolution. A pretty great legacy, right? But that is not where this story ends. Not even close. Its most profound legacy, the one that connects all the way to us, right here, right now, was something nobody saw coming. Okay, so here's how the future started. When Acorn began working on the Beep's successor, they hit a brick wall. None of the processors on the market were powerful enough and also efficient enough for what they wanted to do. So they made a truly radical decision. They were just going to design their own. They built it around this idea of a reduced instruction set computer, or RISC, which focused on doing simple things but doing them incredibly fast. And what they created was the Acorn RISC machine, or ARM.
And there it is. That's the punchline. That processor, ARM, born out of the need to create the next generation of the BBC's educational computer, is the direct ancestor of the chip that powers virtually every single smartphone and tablet on the planet today. The DNA, the core ideas, they're exactly the same.
I mean, just look at this chart. It's not a competition. The ARM architecture has an almost complete and total monopoly on the mobile world. That original design philosophy, high performance, low power consumption, the exact thing those Acorn engineers needed for their next school computer, turned out to be the absolute perfect recipe for the mobile revolution that was still decades away.
It all started with a national project to teach kids how to code, which just leaves you with one really fascinating final thought, doesn't it? What are the seemingly simple educational tools we're giving to kids today that might just be accidentally laying the groundwork for the next world-changing technologies of tomorrow?